Welcome to the Sharp Way Show. I know, it's a little bit late this Monday evening. I've been bad recently. I apologize. Trying to get back in the groove of things, fighting this court battle, as you know, I'm still in the process of, but I am here. It is a lot past 7 p.m. on the East Coast here on the Sharp Way Show. I appreciate you guys giving me a couple of minutes of your evening. As always, you know what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how New York State, when all of a sudden things look really bad, we're going to act like we're libertarians all of a sudden. Yeah, that's kind of not how it goes, but they're going to try because they realize the same problems I realize. However, we're going to see what they actually mean. And of course, the Republican answer is what you think it is. Nothing. As you will see this evening, Democrats, the party of bad ideas. Republicans, the party of no ideas. And that's for New York State. I mean, maybe your state's different, but I tell you, that's my state every single time, both times. And if you know it's going to be good, and you know it's going to be good, then do the thing you're supposed to do. You know what it is. Click that like button, comment, share, all the things. Click them so we can move forward. Support the show and come on to the Discord channel by going to that link right there, Larry Sharp Discord, and linking everything together so you can see what we're doing. All kind of cool stuff. If you want to support the show itself, you know you can head on over and support the World's Smallest Political Quiz. They're our sponsor. Click that link, share that link in other places, and you will see how that will make everybody happy. It's free. Just share the link. Everybody's happy. Heading over there. It's all good. If you're saying, Larry, I love you. Awesome. I love you too. Then donate. LarrySharp.com/donate, or pick up a cool shirt. I'm wearing an old school shirt. There's new ones there too, though. Head over there to LarrySharp.com/shop, and we can get rocking and rolling. Well, tonight or today, my glorious governor, glorious governor Kathy Hochul, Her Majesty, she's out there. Here's how she's beating. You might say to yourself, Larry, Hochul's a terrible governor. How is she winning? Well, let me tell you what she does far better than Cuomo. Now, Cuomo was a bad guy, I think, in general. Most of you who knew him or knew of him would agree he was a bad person. However, he was charismatic, and he would go out there and do all the charismatic stuff, and people liked it. People saw what he was doing, and they were swayed by his charisma. Still a charismatic guy, whether you like him or not. I don't. But doesn't matter. Credit where credit is due. He was indeed charismatic. But when you look at someone like Kathy Hochul, nowhere near as charismatic. But what is she good at? She is a good player. She is always handing out jobs, handing out money. She creates those connections, and this is how she stays in charge. It isn't because people love Kathy. It's because so many people are beholden to her. And she does it by handing out things, right? She's much more of a I'll give. And you know what? Be nice to me. And the faucet just keeps coming and coming and coming. Everything she does is about money, giving out more and more money. You see it constantly. So now she wants to help out seniors. I like that. I think we should help out seniors too. I'm in. Let's help out some seniors. So what do you think her plan's going to be? You're probably saying to yourself, wow, Larry, she's probably got a detailed plan on how. No, she doesn't. I'm going to write more checks. That's always her plan. I'm going to write more checks. But here is Her Majesty sitting here with another cool thing, strengthening affordability for New York families and seniors. And what is this? This is literally just her finding a way to give away money. Of course it is, right? So you might think it's something special. It's not. It's going to be her giving away some money. Here we go.
I don't think, oh, she's here too. Assembly Member Fernandez has joined us from the Bronx, and Gina Soletti, Assembly Member Gina Soletti.
So what happens is whenever she shows up, the thing that you'll notice is if you remember when Cuomo would do these things, sometimes people from the press would, sometimes local people would show up, but not as much. Usually what would happen is when Cuomo showed up, the press would show up, right? Because he was more of a celebrity, right? That's what Cuomo was. And his people, like his team was there. These are my people. We're the tough guys. Not with Hochul. Whenever Hochul shows up, all the local bannermen have to come to show their loyalty to the queen. And she will then hand out the goodies. She will hand out the rings to all of them. And that's why that's all she does. Not many people are watching this. This is not really done for you or I. If you look at the viewership, most people aren't watching this, which is why I show it to you. This is done mostly internally, right? It's for the people who know to watch, which is why I very often have to kind of tell you what's happening.
I didn't realize we had so many people here. It's like the whole.
Do you hear that? I didn't realize we had so many people here. What does that mean? She sees the crowd. She's been the crowd. People. In her eyes, people are only the elected. That's a Freudian slip right there. And I'm not joking when I say that. The people who are valuable, the people who matter in her eyes are the elected officials. Everyone else, you're the poors, you're the unimportant people. I make things for you. Move on. That's how she thinks. So she says, "Oh, so many people here," because the rest of us aren't people. That's a Freudian slip.
The whole place is filled with elected officials.
Thank you. She literally connected people with elected officials. That's how she feels. You're not one of them. Do you really matter? Not in her eyes.
So listen, let's talk about our seniors for a minute.
See, the non-people.
When you think about the pandemic.
Yep.
And the communities and the individuals and the age groups hit the hardest.
Yeah.
By the isolation. Those who were in nursing homes or.
Weird how you speak about isolation in nursing homes. Weren't you directly involved in that? She actually keeps the same as Cuomo. Cuomo, by the way, was the master at this. Cuomo would list all the problems that literally he created. He'd basically be listing a thing that he created and then acting like somebody else did it and he's going to fix it. He was our governor at certain points, like 6 or 8 years. And he was talking about all the problems New York had. I'm thinking to myself, homeboy, they're your problems. He would act like somebody else did it and he's now going to fix it. She is now copying this. Why? Because sadly, it does work.
Senior facilities or congregate settings or just even if they lived on their own but had to go through 2 years of isolation.
I love that. Had to go through 2 years of isolation. You put them there. You did.
From seeing their family members, their children, their normal caregivers, their grandkids, all the milestones that were missed.
She's kind of self-reporting, isn't she?
Child's graduation or a wedding or
you stopped all those things.
A religious celebration like a baptism. I mean, so much was missed.
It wasn't missed. See, this is the Cuomo-esque. She's getting better at it. I got to give her. She's getting better at this. It was missed. It wasn't missed. You physically stopped them. It wasn't missed. You did it.
And life can be lonely when you're a senior anyhow.
Yes.
You may have lost a loved one, a spouse.
I did say that, yes.
Just feeling disconnected.
And my question is, when Cuomo was doing this and you were lieutenant governor, what did you say? That will be, oh, right, nothing. Not a thing. Zero. And then when you became governor, what policy did you immediately change? Oh, right, none of them.
And then you come off after the pandemic.
After your lockdowns.
You're feeling better about life. We've got COVID under control. You've had your vaccine. You've had your booster.
Have to.
And then another dynamic happens.
A dynamic happens. See, it's not her fault. Just dynamics happen. This is what it just happened.
You're living on a fixed income.
Yeah.
Because you're not out there earning income any further. So you might have a pension, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
But life is hard as it is.
In New York, it is.
And then we start seeing the cost of living escalate.
Yes.
Everything from gasoline.
It just goes up magically.
To your groceries.
Groceries.
To your monthly payments.
Huh.
And all of a sudden, after coming through a pandemic, when you wanted to just open up to
all of a sudden, I don't know why, we shut down the supply chain, stop people from working, and inflation. It just happened. A dynamic happened.
And say, we're back. We have this crushing weight that's thrust upon you through no fault of your own. And
well, it's kind of your fault because you keep voting people like you. So it's kind of our fault, right? I mean, it is kind of our fault. We keep voting for people like you. The crushing weight wasn't put upon us magically. It was you.
It is tough. It's tough on everybody.
It is.
But especially our seniors.
But not you.
Can't say that I now have another way to bring in money.
That's true.
That's why when you go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's not unlikely to be waited on by someone who already thought they were done working.
Yeah.
But they're back there just trying to earn that income.
Okay, you're saying how bad things are. If only there was someone in charge of this state who could fix these things. that you say are so bad. Oh, wait, that's you. You're the one. It's like you're looking in the mirror and going, wow, you're a terrible person. It's you.
I know because I've talked to them. And maybe they like the connection with other people, but I guarantee there's a lot more fun things to be doing than doing what they're doing. They do it out of necessity.
Wow.
So as a society, as a state,
yeah, tell me.
that values our people.
Values our people. When was that true? Dude, is that a thing? We value our people? Wow, you're if that's true, that you're bad at that.
Especially our senior citizens, for all they've done for us.
You're bad at that.
We need to find more ways to help them through these tough times.
I agree.
And that's what my administration has pledged to do since
okay.
our very first State of the State.
We are set now.
A few months back.
Excellent.
Working with the legislature. Legislature, this is your priority as well.
See
that? Always put a spotlight on our seniors, and I'm grateful.
Always put a spotlight on. Why? As you must be putting a spotlight on the license plate in the back of the U-Haul, because that's the only spotlight you're putting on as they pack up and leave. You just made that up too. It's a couple that you just made up out of nowhere. None of this is true, what she's saying. She's just made this up. We don't put a spotlight on our seniors. They're leaving in droves going to Florida. Do you guys know 10%, almost, a little bit, about 9% of Florida's population, 9% comes from New York State? It's almost 9%, it's almost 10%. Maybe 1 in 12, 1 in 11, right? In that area, the Floridians are from New York. That's the spotlight you put on. That spotlight's too bright because they run away from it. Dim it down a little bit.
But now they need more support than ever.
Yep.
And we've already completed construction of over 13 housing units of senior housing just this year alone.
Look at that. We made 13 units of senior housing. Well, they're all going to come back from Florida now.
1,300 new housing units. That's part of our $25 billion housing plan.
$25 billion on housing. Ask anybody, and some of you might have seen my conversation with Sam Cedar last week. And what did he say every time it was a problem? I talk about housing. What did he say? He says underfunded. $25 billion. That is about 11% of our entire budget. Our budget's $220 billion. So $25 billion on housing. Whatever you might say about housing in New York State, the one thing it's not is underfunded. It's not that. If it's not working, it's either legal, systemic, something else. Something's not working. You can't just go underfunded. One more time. She said it. I'll repeat it in case you didn't hear it. $25 billion. Clearly not underfunded. Yeah.
$300 million for senior housing alone. That's why we've also expanded eligibility for heating and cooling benefits. I mean, my God, it's so hot out. The bills are going through the roof.
Yeah, because we have crappy energy policies. You shut down a nuclear power plant, didn't think how to repair or fix or come up with an idea for a nuclear power plant to replace it in any way, shape, or form. And now we're still buying energy from other states and also Canada. We're buying energy from other states, Pennsylvania mostly, and Canada. That's what New York State does. Yeah, you didn't think about that, did you, when you were shutting down a nuclear power plant and not thinking how to repair or what to do with it? Or I thought, wait a minute, it can't be expensive because we have windmills all over the place, don't we, in New York State? So clearly the windmills are making everything interesting, right? Yeah, no, not at all. This is all your fault. None of this should be happening, but it is, isn't it? So yeah, now so we could set it up to where maybe energy is cheaper. We could set it up to help out our seniors in general. No, what will we do? We will write them checks.
So now we've helped our seniors be able to stay a little cooler during this heat wave and warmer during the winter months.
Why is it the state's job for that? And you might go, but Larry, look, it's good because they're sending money, you're helping seniors. I actually agree, right? I agree. I think helping seniors is a good thing. You know, I'm not against that, of course. Absolutely. But if you're always waiting for the state to send you a check, you're not getting better. We are literally doing the old saying. We're giving someone a fish, not teaching them how to fish. We're not setting up a system that is sustainable. Continually writing checks is unsustainable, but she doesn't care. She does not care. Remember, I was telling you this. The state does 4 things well: kill people, imprison people, write checks, create bureaucracy. That's what they're good at. So that means every single time they can do one of those 4 things: kill you, put you in prison, write checks, or create bureaucracy. She is great at writing checks and creating bureaucracy. Oh my God, she is a master. Master. Writing checks, creating bureaucracy. Doesn't help anybody, but man, those 2 things keep going. What does that do? Keeps creating jobs. Keeps creating jobs.
Also raised the
Government
Medicaid
jobs.
Income limit. No one had touched that for a long time. You know, a lot of these are like, oh, it's just too much. Well, sometimes things are expensive, but they need to be done. Just take care of people. We raised it for seniors 65 and up and people with disabilities, so it's over 139% of the poverty level. This needed to be done long.
This is actually accurate. This is a good thing.
The income limit.
I'm going to give credit where credit is due, right? When it comes to helping out because of the cost of living in New York State, you do want to raise eligibility far past the poverty rate across the country and make it higher for New York State. That's true. We're going to have the benefits that go out to everybody. We don't want to have New York State people who are paying the same taxes as everybody else. In fact, sometimes more. We don't want it to be any lower. So I actually agree, without question, right? We definitely can. We should raise that. This credit where credit is due. This is a good deal. I would have agreed with this. I would have signed on to this. I would have done this myself. I think that's a good thing.
For the Medicaid saving program as well. And we improved assistance for food as well, helping increase eligibility for the SNAP program for older adults and people with disabilities. So today we're going to build on that even more. We're going to keep finding ways to help lift them up. And in a few moments, I'll be signing 3 bills, 2 of which.
She is signing so many bills. All she does is sign bills. And the funny part is she's been signing bills. I mean, she must have signed 50 bills. I think that's probably accurate. 50 bills already. She's made all these new laws, and it's made New York what? Not safer, not more prosperous. More people still leaving. It has been total, utter failure.
Are dedicated to what I'm talking about, just making it a little easier, a little less expensive for older homeowners in our state.
Okay.
And one will just.
Let me explain what you do for older homeowners in New York State. Here's the actual answer. Here is the actual bill they should be passing. Very simple. Once you hit 65 years old in New York State, as soon as you're 65 years old, if you have ever owned a home in New York State for at least 15 years, it doesn't have to own a home now, but if you ever owned a home in New York State for at least 15 years, your property tax, regardless of where you are, goes down 5% every year for 20 years. Just goes down. Once you're hit 85, you have no property tax. Just go all the way down as you move forward. If you're already 70, it already comes down by that percentage, right? If you're already 80, already down. If you're 85 or older, no tax, already gone. That's number 1. They might say, wait a minute, Larry, what if I don't own a home or don't want to own a home? No worries. If you decide to live with one of your family members, you live with your niece, nephew, son, daughter, cousin, whomever you want to live with, and that person is not a senior, that person can get half of your rate. So now they can lower their property tax to keep you in their home if they want to. All of a sudden now property taxes start coming down. As they start coming down, it becomes better for you as a senior to stay here. I would like you to stay here. You earned your pension. Please spend it in New York State. Why don't I start giving you some ways to stay here so you can survive and to spend your pension here in New York State? Now, the response I get from some people is, Larry, you can't do that. If you do that, then all that, that property tax will go away and it'll hurt the budget in New York State. It won't, because right now we have seniors packing up and leaving like there's no tomorrow. Instead, they'll stay here, and instead of spending their pensions in Florida, they'll spend their pensions here in New York State, keeping more people here, more business here, everything here. Yes, lower it, lower it, lower it. Now, there are more plans I have also, but that one right there is an immediate one. That's a much better plan for our seniors.
Just make it easier to become a homeowner in the first place.
Oh,
so the
easier.
first, there you go. Amen to that. Amen.
All right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Homeowners. Okay, it's good. We'll be homeowners.
So for the first one, I want to thank Majority Leader Andre Stewart Cousins for being the sponsor in the Senate. Assembly Member Tom Avenatti in the Assembly. And this expands the property tax exemptions for people over 65 and people living with disabilities. This has not been touched since 2009.
Good deal.
Do you know what the cap is to be able to receive a property tax exemption in the state of New York? It is $29,000. Okay, I don't think we're covering a lot of people with that cap. That's roughly our state's minimum wage.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree.
we said, and the leader was...
This is not a bad idea either. Raising the caps is not a bad idea, right? This is something that I'm totally fine with, whatever. I think it's fine.
Such a strong proponent of making sure this happened. She says we need to raise this. We're allowing local governments to raise that minimum, not $29,000, not $30,000, but up to $50,000. And we'll sign that and make that the law.
I'm not going to complain on this one. Yeah. If this was all she's doing, I wouldn't even do a show on this. It's fine.
The tax relief they
not going to fight this one.
The second program is going to improve something known as the Residential Emergency Services to offer repairs to the elderly.
Uh-oh.
Why is that such a long title?
Because
shorten it stands for restore. That's a nicer sound. We're going to talk about the restore program.
I like that.
But
that's fine.
A lot of seniors live in their homes, and maybe the first home they were married in. I've seen that plenty of times.
True. Also, she's right.
Children there, the children are gone. Maybe a spouse is gone, and they're still living in that home.
Yeah, true.
But the cost of repairs.
Yes.
Things start breaking down.
Yeah.
It just can be something that
can be
thrust someone into poverty if they.
If only we would have, I don't know, more tradespeople in New York State so that we could flood the zone with workers and people who can repair things, and we wouldn't have to have the government pay for everything. What? I know if we change our schooling system to where people would go into the trades, a lot of people who want to go on trades wouldn't be pushed into a useless college for that person. Yeah, that might make things better also. More people would actually know how to fix their homes on their own, those who want to. And if you want to find someone who can fix your home, there'll be lots of people out there who'll be happy to do so, which might actually bring pricing down. I know, crazy, right? If there's more people who do it, the price might go down. Nuts. I'm the weird one. Or you can just write people checks. I mean, that's another answer. And she's going to go with, write the checks. She's going to go with that.
Can't fix something that's essential.
But now the problem with all of these plans she comes up with is all of these plans always require a bureaucracy behind it, because it's only if you do X and if you do Y and when you do Z. And they've been doing this literally for decades. And every time they do it, nobody actually begins to win. In the long run, people lose. I'm sorry, it's not true. The people who are supposed to be helped don't win. I'm sorry. The bureaucrats always win. She creates more government jobs, which again, if you have a government job, good for you. If you got a good job, pays your bills, gets your pension, awesome for you. I'm not mad at you for that. Good for you. The problem is the state can't have only those types of jobs. It must also have a whole bunch of private sector jobs, and those are going away. That's the problem. So many of our jobs are either government directly or government funded. That's the problem, right? We need more non-government and more non-government funded jobs, more of them. And we're not doing a good job of that at all. In fact, they're running away as fast as they possibly can. This is a big issue.
I want to thank Senator Michelle Hinchy for her leadership,
and no, all you're thanking is just more elected.
For helping improve the flexibility there, because a lot of times there's violations, and if they don't fix the violation, they can't stay in their home.
Yeah, it's weird how the state comes up with the reasons to stop and throws them out of the house.
That's really a tragedy when living conditions do become unsafe, though, and they have to be fixed. So we're going to be providing financial resources for low and moderate income senior citizens.
We're going to be writing checks. I like the financial resources. That does sound great, but it's just we're going to be writing checks. All we're going to do is write checks. And my question again, as I always say, our budget in New York State is $220 billion. We have at least a $6 billion deficit. After Uncle Joe stops writing checks, whenever Uncle Joe Biden stops writing checks, we're going to be at least a $40 or $50 billion deficit. Our debt's already $500 billion, depending on how you measure that. At what point do we default? At one point, the money runs out. Our pension bomb is exploding, and it's all being spent in Florida. It's unsustainable. Everyone's like, yeah. Why? Because all the people who are winning are only government workers. And when I say government workers, I mean either bureaucrats or those who are elected. They're all winning. What about the average person? That's not good at all.
And homeowners, so they can afford to do this, help with housing emergencies, help them with the code violations they might be citing for. So right now they're supposed to have...
I have another idea. What if you had more opportunity in the state to where their family and friends actually stayed here? The problem is there's a whole bunch of seniors who are abandoned here. Not because their family doesn't love them, but you know people like this. I'm sure you do. If you live in New York State, you know people like this. The elderly have basically been abandoned. Why? Because there's no opportunity for the youth. So they pack up and they leave. And they leave grandma, grandpa here. You find the opposite too. Some people who love their parents so much, they want to stay close to them. They stay there. And they stay in New York until that elderly parent passes away. And when the final elderly parent passes away, then they pack up and leave. This is not a good way for New York to be.
Certain construction deadlines with supply chains, they're not likely to meet them, so we're expanding those to 60 days, as well as doubling the maximum costs for that as well. From $10,000, we'll give them $20,000.
Now, it's not that I'm against them giving $20,000. I mean, I kind of am, but it's fine. You want to give people money, you want to write a check. Who decides whether it's $10,000 or $20,000? What was that number? How do you know how much your house costs to repair? You get $20,000. Why? Because, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. At no point are we teaching people to fish or building a better environment so this doesn't happen again. What's going to stop this from happening again in another 3 years, 4 years? Nothing. Which is why if you go back, I should do this. I just give myself a new idea. I'm going to go back, right? I'm going to go back to maybe do it next week and pull out some Cuomo things like this, who said exactly the same thing. What happened to all his plans 6 years ago? You know what happened? They all failed. What's going to happen to her plans 6 years from now? They're all going to fail. Why? Because they always fail. We've been doing this, what she's talking about, for decades, and we're still in a terrible spot. Why? It doesn't work.
And under this program. So we'll expand more money, more time to get the construction done. And so that's just a recognition that life is changing. So that'll help more seniors stay in their homes, which is a great outcome as well. Something we want to see so they can be independent. Like my dad's living in his home right now. I just talked to him. He's still living in his home at 86.
Yes, but you and your husband are both very wealthy. He may be staying in his home, but if you're wealthy, of course you can. You can afford to pay for helpers to go help him whenever he needs help. Yes, wealthy people can stay in their homes as long as they want. They're wealthy. You and your husband are very wealthy. You can literally pay people for round the clock to take care of your father if he wants it or not. He goes to a private hospital, a private doctor. He's not going on Medicare or Medicaid. He's not doing that. He's going to private doctors with a private hospital because you're wealthy. Anyone watching who's wealthy knows what I'm talking about. That's what's going to happen. Of course, he lives by herself. Of course.
Which we're very blessed that is what is occurring. But the third bill we want to sign here today, not to do with current seniors, but certainly helps future seniors. And those are our youngest and the young people that, we're trying to build wealth. How do you build wealth?
Yeah.
You buy that first home.
Yes.
It improves. You take care of it.
Now, for some of you, you might have watched my chat with Sam Cedar last week, and he was totally against, or almost completely against, my idea of focusing heavily on all public housing and all new builds to be pushed towards rent to own. Why do I push rent to own so much? You can just cap rents if you want to. That's fine. You can. That's what people want to do. It doesn't work. New York City has rent control, and New York City real estate's a disaster. So rent control doesn't work. It's been that way since like World War II, and it's terrible. It does not work. However, you can do it if you want to. Okay, I'm going to cap rent. Great. So you cap rent. So you stay in your house for whatever, 10, 15 years, whatever, however long you spend. You pack up and you leave. What do you get when you leave? Nothing. Maybe you get some of your security back, and not even always that. That's what you get. That's it. You're moving, you get that. Maybe some security. But what if you own the home? What happens when you leave? You get some equity. Whether you sell the house, you get a little bit of money, whatever the case may be. You get something for your time you put in. You begin to build wealth, which is what she's saying. So if you want to build wealth, how do you do that? By focusing on rent to own. That's the piece that I want to push so much. Rent to own gets more people in the ownership mindset, gets more young people being able to decide, you know what, I've been renting, but I don't want to stay here, so I'm going to leave. Awesome. You don't get as big a check, but because you only have a little bit of equity, but you get a small check to leave. So I spent 5 years building my family, building whatever I want, and I decide, you know what, this is not right for me. I'm going to go move to some other city, some other town. Awesome. Here's a little check. A little check's better than no check. Whenever the wealthy leave their home, they always leave with a check. Not just that, when the wealthy leave their jobs, what do they also leave with? A check, severance. Savvy, wealthy people building wealth, whenever they leave something, they get a check when they leave. So why don't we start teaching the average person that when they leave, they should get a check? This is what rent to own is so important. She has no rent to own her plan whatsoever. None. It's just give more checks. That's my point. And I mean, even if you live in public housing, even if and people get mad at me when I say this, some people who don't like this idea at all, but I still think I'm right. The plan here is, even if you are on public assistance and public assistance is helping you pay your rent, you should still be rent to own, even with that. And people go, Larry, why would I want rent to own? Why would I want to pay this person to own a house? Because you have two choices. Number one, pay their rent forever. That's option one, which is what happens now. We just keep paying people's rent forever. Or get some of them to actually own their home and to change their mindset and to build in some wealth over time. Whether they're starting at 18 or 60. I don't care when you're starting. If you start to build someone, because even the person who's 60 who begins this, they may not have that much money when they leave, but they might leave something to their family. Or the youngsters might see and go, wait a minute, mom's building wealth? Maybe I should build wealth. They'll begin to copy the people around them. This is a critical piece that is not in any of their plans. Rent to owns everything. And Sam got mad and said, well, to do that, you want the private sector to also do it. And you'll give them a capital gains tax benefit at the end to make up for the money lost. He was like, how dare them not do taxes? Oh my God, terrible idea. The wealthy scam on taxes all the time. It's what they do. They just reinvest or whatever. But why wouldn't I want the wealthy then, if they're going to do that, get a bunch of people who would never have the opportunity to own a home to now own a home, to have families who could actually build wealth, right? The difference between me and Kathy Hochul or me and Sam Cedar or me and any of those people who talk this talk is they already have everything. They don't want you to have it. The cool things are for them, not for you. I look at it as, I have cool things. Would you like some cool things too? Why don't we all get some cool things? And if you have cooler things than I do, can I have some cool things too? Not by taking, but by giving you the opportunity to sample some cool things. I think we should all have some cool things. We should all think that way, but not by me physically taking them. There's difference. That might be just, I'll give you at least, right? I call this the at least mindset. Well, at least you'll have something. You'll have Medicare for all. That's what you'll have. I'm going to go to a private doctor, but you're going to have Medicare for all. Good luck with that. Hope that works for you. We'll raise some caps and you'll be fine. They're not going there. And that's the difference.
And it increases in value, and that's how you start building wealth. And that's been a dream that has been too elusive for too many New Yorkers for too long.
She's right. At least 10 years that you've been around running stuff. You've been running stuff in this state for about 15 years, right? If I count your other stuff prior. Yeah. So if it's in trouble, kind of you did it.
So the third bill we have will extend the property tax exemptions for first-time home buyers.
That's nice.
All the way through 2028 instead of having it expire. And I want to thank Steve Engelbright. I want to thank him, a Assembly member, and also Senator Brian Kavanaugh, who sponsored this in the Senate. So before that, these are for new homes. These would have expired by the end of this year. So that would have been all over. Would have made it a lot tougher, especially when interest rates are going up. So that would have just been the combination that would have kept too many
Not the
people
end of the world.
Buy that first home.
Fine with this one.
So it helps all these bills.
Oh, see, they're all trying to be libertarians now. We're going to cut taxes. He's Democrat. Going to cut taxes. Yeah, but they're going to hammer us some other way.
Help people put down their roots, feel stable, feel protected.
Yes, put down your roots so you can't leave, then I'll hammer you.
Because we know that this is such an important thing we can offer our citizens. Give them the dating to have a good life when they're older, but also give them an opportunity when they're younger to start on that path toward home ownership. So
I like these ideas. Let me grab some of these comments. There's a lot of comments. I'm gonna grab some comments now if I could. And I'll come back there in a second. Greg says Kathy Hochul's garbage. Well, yeah. John says, just bought my car magnet and sign. Thank you, my friend. I love that. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. So good. I appreciate that. Yes. Ryle says the New York State Republican Party is like Democrat light. That's actually very true. You're right in the money, Ryle. You're right on the money. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. Red Vapes and Advocate says, gotta love crony capitalism. That's what she's all about. She's all about it. Absolutely. She is all about it. Yes. Kim says the whole lockdown was a crime against humanity. The sad part, Kim, is that most New Yorkers don't see it that way. Too many of them still believe what she says. Oh, it just happened. There was no choice. Too many don't believe you. It's crazy. Yes. So, yes, I love that. All right, let's see if I can grab a couple more of this here. Summer says, going for that daytime Grammy. Maybe. That's a thing, right? It could happen. Absolutely. Andrew says, same percentage as the Cuban refugees to Florida. Is that right? 10%? Is it that high, Andrew? Wow, I had no idea it was that high. I didn't realize how high it was. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot. Absolutely. So, all right. Phil says, come on, man. Of course they put a spotlight on seniors. That way they can see who to screw over first. Friends don't let friends reelect. That's very good. That's nice. They're hammering them. I agree completely. Yes. Let's see here. Brendan says, hey, Larry, what were interest rates when I was born in 1998? Did it match inflation? 98. It's a good question. Interest rates were starting to come down then. They were already, but I don't know how low they were. Well, in the 70s, they were pretty high. Like people could get mortgages, even the 80s, 12%, 13%, 11%, 14%. By the time the 90s came, it was lower than that, but I don't think it was like 14. It wasn't like that. And by 2000, my God, it was 3%. I mean, it was low at that point. So, yeah. So William says, maybe make hydroelectric dams, nuclear power, and natural gas to lower energy price and other market to push solar and wind. I would love that. Well, you know what I would love, William? Any plan besides nuclear bad. That was our plan. Our plan is nuclear bad. That's the plan. And so we shut it down and we wonder. Absolutely. Patty says, I want to teach people to fish, but understand you can't learn or perform when starving. Can we do both? I think absolutely, Patty, right? If you notice, I talk about my other plan of my gig, which is the graduated income boost. The graduated income boost is based upon the idea that $36,000 a year is kind of what I'd like the base New Yorker to be able to make at least, right? If you're at that should be our at least, right? If we can get to that level, at least that. We should be able to move towards that. So if you make, so for any money you make under $36,000 a year, the state will assist you in some way, help you with a check every month. And you might go, wait a minute, Larry, who's going to pay for that? You and your taxes. No taxes. It's a special fund I talk about all the time called the NIST, the New York State Social Trust. And what the NIST is a separate company similar to what they do in Singapore. It's done throughout the world. Norway does it. A couple companies actually have their own sideline banks that actually help to pay for their other social issues and healthcare and things like that. Some companies, up to 20% of their budget is paid for by a fund like this. And the NIST is on purpose attractive towards private and permanent capital, the big banks, the big hedge funds. Why? Two reasons. Number one, they want a place to go, which is good. Give them a place to go. They'll begin to fund it. So the big heavy hitter banks and the big heavy hitter hedge funds, the wealthy, will then by default pay for people who aren't so wealthy. We want that, don't we? But that wealth tax doesn't ever work. It always gets cut out. There's always ways around it. They did it already with the most recent one, the 15% minimum tax. You're going to watch a bunch of holding companies come together. I'll explain it in a second. Let me just finish this piece and I'll explain that. So anyway, they put money to that. It's a dividend they get every year based upon the amount of money that we bring in, revenue that the state brings in, encouraging them to invest in New York so that as money comes out of New York State, they have a higher dividend, right? The dividend gets higher by how much revenue New York State makes. That's how their revenue is made. As that happens, that pays for the GIB. So no taxpayer money. And so what happens is the base amount of money is $18,000 per year. Every dollar you make, you lose 50 cents of your stipend. So you can work your way up if you need to. Now, what if you're permanently disabled? Well, that's your check. You can't work. I got it. You got a check. But your federal guideline stuff doesn't go away. So it's extra way of you having some cash on hand, paid for by the wealthy, who now you can spend your money here, encouraging you to stay here in New York State. But let's say you're young and you don't have any other federal things. You don't have any of that. You just have this. Great. You can still work. As you work, you move up. Let's say you're a couple and one of you works, the other one stays home. The one that stays home now gets a bit of a check to be a stay-at-home spouse. What's wrong with that? That will assist you in moving up. And the point is, it's not enough to where now I'm wealthy, but it's enough to keep you going so you're not starving, Patty. That's the point. And now we can show people and give people good environments where they can grow. They can grow, whether that's through education, whether that's through trades, whether that's through their own personal small business, whatever is the way they want to grow. And hopefully, if you have multiple people in your family, either through marriage or through family, through blood, whatever that way is, they can also assist you. Because if you're all in the same household, you still get the cash. Does it matter? That makes any sense. Multiple people in a household still helps. So that's how you make that happen without extra taxation. And now it's how people can move up. You begin to move up. As you make money, you can still move up. And that's the goal. So I hope that was clear. Now, the other piece I brought up, which was they passed a bill today, if I'm not mistaken, it was yesterday? Today, recently, with a 15% minimum tax for businesses. But they carved out an exemption. An exemption is if you're a hedge fund, right? If you're a private equity firm or whatever, you don't have to pay the 15%. So what did they just encourage? Every business to get bought by a private equity firm. Yes. So they just said, oh, private equity, you look even better, because that 15% minimum tax now, the exemption now is if you're a private equity firm, because the what they tell everybody was, well, private equity firms will buy multiple companies. So if they go past the threshold, it's not fair. They may not have any one company that goes past the threshold. So they should be exempt. And they went, yeah, that makes total sense. It's as if either all of them or none of them know how this works. They're hoping you don't know how it works, but I'm always telling you how it works. So now private equity companies and hedge funds will now buy all these companies. They'll create holding companies, right? Which is a common thing. So basically now Jeff Bezos will create Bezos private equity or whatever he'll do. And then he'll have Amazon be bought by that. Amazon now pays no taxes. Done and done. And then he'll have Google buy that or whatever, and done and done. They'll just do that. And this is why you keep hearing me say, let's stop trying to tax these people. They've bought most of the Congress, if not all of it already. They always get around it every time. I tell you, they get around it every time, and they do every time. That's one of the reasons why we stopped trying to tax them so much, because it didn't matter. The actual amount of tax we brought in didn't go up or down at all. It's the same. So let's get them to want to pay. They might go, Larry, why in the world would they put their money into this NIST? Because right now, what private and permanent capital are doing right now is they're buying real estate. Why are they buying real estate? They're buying real estate because the bond market is a disaster. Has been in the past. It's maybe changing now with the interest rates, but it's been terrible. There's not a good yield. You don't make a lot of money in the bond market. So then why would I put my money in that? Well, you know where I can make money? In real estate. It's pretty safe, not as safe as bonds. Bonds are super safe, but real estate's relatively safe. So I put my money into my big dollars, like literally $10 billion or $20 billion. I put it into real estate, right? These big companies do that, put it into real estate, and then they live off the rents. The rents service the debt, so they don't have to pay for the debt. The rent service the debt. The property rises in value. They suck everything out of it, and then 5 years later sell it off. Massive, great return, right? Not massive, but good return, and relatively safe. All right. Why'd they go there? Because bonds weren't safe. So I'll give them something safer than this, and with more. I'm done. It's not bonds weren't safe. Bonds were safe. Bonds weren't having good return. Better return and as safe as bonds. They'll go there. How do I know that? Because they always go to that type of investment. That's been happening for literally 100 years. They'll do it again. That's how I know we can do it. So to answer your question, Patty, yes, we can do both. It is challenging. It is a culture change, but we can do both. Hers is just write you checks. And then you know where you are 10 years from now? In exactly the same place, hoping she writes you another check or someone writes you a check. That's not the answer. Make a permanent situation to where you can feel comfortable, not starve, and move forward the way you want to move forward. Much better way of doing it. So yes, I appreciate that. All right, I'm here. William goes on, or hear me out, lower the cost of living. That's something, William. I like that. Yes, absolutely. Yep. So Phil goes on to say, she and Cuomo helped a lot of seniors cool off during the pandemic. They put COVID patients in grandma's nursing home and helped her. Yeah. I'm not going to finish that sentence, Phil. Yes, you are correct. Thousands upon thousands of them. You are correct. Yes, thousands of them. It is really, really bad. So yes. All righty. Keep going down here. Pyro Ren says she seems to be missing the fact that people aren't leaving because of housing. It's because the Dems have priced the average out with taxes. Taxes and fines and fees, right? Let's make sure all of that's together. It isn't just one. It's a bunch of them, right? It is taxes. It's also fines and fees that come along with it. But I'll go one step further, Pyro. We will often, as humans, as people, as Americans, we'll put up with a lot of taxation if there is massive opportunity. And that's what used to be in New York City. New York City is basically a police state. I mean, compared relative to the rest of the country. I'm exaggerating a bit, but relative to the rest of the country, it's a communist state, right? Compared to the rest of the country. And people put up with it. Why? Because the opportunity was so huge. And we would deal with it. Forget it. I'll deal with it. The opportunity for me to explode and be great is here. I'll take it because opportunity is awesome. That opportunity is not here anymore. Upstate's not here anymore either. And the city's just not either. People are leaving because it's just as oppressive, if not more oppressive. I'd argue more oppressive. I think you would agree with that. And the opportunity's gone. You want people to put up with this kind of oppression? They got to be thinking they can win the lottery every other week, right? You got to really believe in it. And we don't because it's not true anymore. So thank you for that. So, yeah. All right. Let's see here. Jericho says, we need to find ways to help seniors afford to stay in their homes. Yes. And get aid service instead of going into nursing homes. Yes. Which are often paid for by the state and our horrible facilities. Yes. And yes. You hit every one of them perfectly, Jericho. You are correct. Absolutely. Yes. I would like us instead to make it to where families want to stay together in the same home. I don't want to force you, but I'd like to make an environment where you'd like to do that. I want you to spend your pensions here. I want you to stay with your family if you can. I want your family to walk away because there's no opportunity. I'd like you to stay with your family if that's possible. Now, some people don't want to. I'm not going to force you. Maybe you don't like your family. Okay, leave. But I'm hoping you like your family. And if you do, I don't want to give you any reason to leave, right? I don't want the state to be a reason why you leave. Leave because you don't like your family, but not because the state is pushing you out. That's what I don't want to. John goes on to say, self-righteous teachers and administrators indoctrinate kids and shame trade-related careers. 100% correct, John. You are on the money there. Try to find teachers and administrators who say, go into the trades. Yeah, what's the reason why? They get their cash based upon college placement. They don't get their cash based upon trade school placement. So why would you do that? Not just that. If you're going to trades, you're not spending your time with your ELA and math tests. That's also how they get their money, on ELA and math tests. If you end the ELA and math tests, we don't care about the money anymore at that point. If you decide that you're not going to judge your school based upon going to college placement, you don't have to worry about that money anymore. And you'll find kids go into trades more. And many kids should go into trades because they want to. They shouldn't be shamed, right? What's wrong with kids wanting to make and build and fix things? Good. Well, Larry, they should be having office jobs. Maybe, but so what? The average person is going to have at least 5 careers in their life. Go build some stuff or fix some stuff or whatever you like doing, and then get an office job later in your life. Who cares? Or reverse. Go have an office job first and go build some stuff. Whatever. Do you. That's the point. You should not be shaming any of these skill sets, any of these trades. They're all important. All these careers are important. And if it's a career that you like, then it's the right one for you. Who am I to judge? And not just that, it may change, right? You might think plumbing is awesome, and then think you want to be a computer, programmer, and then think that's boring and you want to go build a house. I don't know. You do you and have fun. Enjoy your life and make mistakes too, John, right? Maybe you went on trades and it was a mistake for you. All right. You can go sell real estate later, whatever. You'll know how to do plumbing inside. All good. I completely agree. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Jericho goes on. I'm president of my local Rotary Club and we raise money for scholarships for students to go to trade schools. Oh, love that. You are so right about more people trades in the market. This is the way. Yes, yes, and yes. 100% true. Yes, you are right. Let me go back if I could. And my glorious governor has a bit more to say. And some other people have something to say too. Let me grab her if I can. Hold on. And see if I can grab her. And done. There we go.
So that's what we're all about here today. Improving the lives of New Yorkers, our seniors, people with disability, young people trying to have that first.
She says all that, and what she basically did was just write checks to people.
Home, maybe like their parents were able to do. And that is why I'm so proud today to be joined by the leaders
She's always
who
proud.
brought this to the forefront from our state legislature. And with that, I want to call up the leader of all leaders, and that is the majority leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Thank you.
And this is how good she is. She has the entire, this is Kathy Hochul's skill set, putting everyone together under her as the queen.
Good morning.
Or her bannerman.
So I'm beaming
Of course you are.
because we are doing something that we know is so important to so many.
All those checks coming, she will take credit for, right? This is why she's so happy. She's like, there is no way in the world I'm ever going to lose my seat. That's why she's beaming. She knows it's not really going to help anybody, but she knows that when those checks come, she can say, that's because me. And people go, wow, you write me checks. I guess I should vote for you.
And the fact that the governor would be here in my district in this amazing space.
Pumping me to make sure I don't lose my seat.
So many of our not only electeds, but community
Yeah, not only elected, two of the most important people, but these little community
members
people.
To celebrate housing, keeping people in their homes, seniors, new home buyers, and the understanding that New York is about creating affordable, and affordability is.
They literally made that up. She just made that up. She goes, all the elected, because that's all she cares about. See the elite status that they have. This is literally elites. They can't not be it, right? They show their eliteness in what they say. All the elected, and the rest of you, people, I guess, whatever. That's how she feels. New York's about affordability. Utter fabrication. Absolutely just made up. She pulled that out of thin air. Oh, yeah, it's New York's all about chicken sandwiches. I mean, there's no difference. She might as well say that. New York's all about Russian-speaking bears. Yeah, it's no difference. Same
something
thing.
That makes me so happy. So, Governor, thank you so much for being who you are and being here.
Thank you so much for ensuring I won't lose my seat. Oh, you're the best.
I was also thinking about the kinds of things that we've been signing before.
A lot of them.
We've stood fighting back.
Fighting back.
So much of what has happened on
Okay, you mean against the COVID lockdowns? You mean those fight back? Or fighting back against inflation? You mean that? Fighting all the things that have been actively affecting New Yorkers, fighting back seniors losing their homes, or addiction. You're fighting back on addiction, or maybe violence. You're fighting back on violence. You're fighting back on all those things, right? Tell me.
In Supreme Court, whether we're fighting back with a package that will allow us to have, gun safety in New York.
That's what you're fighting on? Gun safety. We have the strictest gun laws in New York State. The strictest. There's no battle there. You won that battle years ago, 2013.
Whether we are fighting for women's rights.
Already done in New York State. Done already in New York State. There was never a fight. New York State already codified it, already good.
To make sure that women know that their right to an abortion is safe here in New York.
They already knew.
So
what she says is, all the virtue signaling we've done this last year, we've done so much virtue signaling. We've solved not one problem that New Yorkers are affected by, but man, did we virtue signal like there's no tomorrow. We made sure that people knew that what we already did, we just did again. Yes, clap for that. We are the most virtuous.
We actually also, I was with you with the signing for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Because that was a problem in New York State. None of these are problems.
Making sure that in New York, people can exercise their franchise.
But you won't let third parties on the ballot, will you? See? So you're kind of full of shit, right? Well, virtue signal, but we won't let any other parties on the ballot. That we won't do.
We've been so many places fighting back that I'm happy again that when we come to Yonkers,
tell me.
because we were here to not just fight back, but to talk about the amazing amount of money that we have injected into our education system here and around the state.
That's true. Well, in some places, we're up to almost $40,000 per kid for this year. Yeah, imagine that. Last time I checked, we ranked 42nd out of 51, if you include DC. 42nd out of 51. Boy, that money's working. What one thing New York State can do is write some checks. We are good at writing checks. Actually fixing problems, terrible. Terrible.
As well as expanding pre-K.
Yeah, we ranked 44th in pre-K. Worse.
So
early education, New York State ranks 44th out of 51. Graduation went ranked 42nd out of 51 when you count DC. So yeah, well done. You killing it.
This is a governor
killing it.
And a legislature
that
is on the move. And sometimes, we were all talking about it backstage, about, we don't have the messaging and why can't we just figure it out? Because we are so busy.
Virtue signaling?
Trying to make sure that every single segment of our population that needs us to stand up and to push forward on behalf of everyday people, no matter who they are and what they represent. We are so busy meeting those needs that we have not, I guess, done a great job at marketing what we do.
It's marketing. It's, you know what? It's marketing. She's right. It's marketing. See, the Democrats in this state are doing such a great job that everyone's packing up and leaving. Wait, so why are they leaving then? Wait, you know what it is? It's a two-way street here. She's so busy solving every problem, none of them, but she's so busy doing that, virtue signaling, that all the people can't notice because they're so busy packing their U-Haul and moving to Florida and Texas. That's your problem. If you would shine that spotlight, as you were talking about spotlight, not on the back of the license plate, but the front of the license plate, and say, hey, look, all the virtue signaling we're doing, problem solving we're doing, maybe you would not be so busy packing up and leaving that you might notice we've solved all your problems. That's the issue. Why don't they come back? You would think once you move to Florida and you look back and go, wow, Kathy Hochul has solved all of our problems. We should just move back. Yeah, they're not moving back. See, that's the problem. They're not moving back. I think somebody's full of crap. And I'm going to go with you, but I could be wrong.
How sad.
You are sad. That's true.
How very, very sad.
It is sad. I would agree.
Because we are changing the lives.
For the worse.
Of people who will now be able. Thank you, Senator Hinchey.
Ooh, the senator did it.
And Senator Engelbright. Senator, I promoted you. Assemblyman Engelbright.
Oh, that's a promotion?
Assemblyman Avenante.
Okay.
And Senator Kavanaugh was not here. But thank you for...
They've literally done nothing but write checks to some people. I'm not joking. I want to be clear about this. They wrote checks to some people and created more bureaucracy, which bureaucracy is good for them because then they get to reward their cronies with jobs. And I'm not joking. This is a thing they do. They reward the party locals with government jobs. That's a very common practice. So they've made some more bureaucracy. Someone's going to make sure the checks go out the right way. They have to have an office of this or an office of that. They'll create that. And then people will do stuff every day and send out checks and stuff. They'll do that, look over paperwork. And then any enemies they don't like that they get mad at, they'll call them fraudulent because they'll make the rules so convoluted and then they won't check them. So people will mess up the rules. Then they'll call them fraudulent, put them in jail for 2-3 years. They'll do a bunch of that. You wish I was joking. I'm not. That's what they actually do. So all these rules will put, I don't know, a dozen people in jail probably in the next, or prison, actually in prison. In the next couple of years, their cronies will get a bunch of jobs and she'll clap on all the problems she solved. Meanwhile, New York State will continue to lose people. There'll be no change. She has done nothing except write checks and create bureaucracy, which is all they do. And pat herself on the back and talk about how the elected are so amazing because they're the elite and you people are nothing. So be happy we give you crumbs.
Making sure that we are addressing what we know is a real problem.
Oh, like crime? No, like inflation. Not bad schooling.
I represent a district. This district is part of, I also represent Scarsdale.
Okay.
And everybody in between. I see, Mayor Roach here from
Yeah.
White Plains. The reality
I got
is
it.
that
You are the ruler of a large swath of land. Your fiefdom is impressive. I agree. You don't have to tell us that. You are impressive. It's true.
I've got seniors
Yeah.
who are house rich
Yep.
and cash poor.
Yes. True.
I got people who are sitting in front of million-dollar houses.
Yep.
And on a very tiny fixed income.
Yeah. And you've been in the Congress 20 years. Assembly, 20 years. Isn't that kind of your fault? I love it. There's self-reporting. Yeah. What she should be saying is, I've been incompetent for like 20 years. I have made everyone's life horrible for like 20 years. I have been really bad. And you guys have been dumb enough to keep paying me and voting for me and giving me more and more power and making me feel like I'm impressive for like 20 years. And I've been doing nothing but making things worse. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you how cool my fiefdom is. And we go, I don't know why we do that, but
and
we do.
Heaven forbid,
Yeah.
they should try and get more income. They'd be subjected to higher taxes.
Oh, because Democrats care about high taxes.
They can barely afford.
Property tax, that's right. Democrats
Heaven
care about that.
forbid,
Yeah.
something goes wrong.
Oh my God. Then what would happen?
And you got to fix this thing.
Yeah.
And you still don't have
Yep.
the money.
The funny part is that's been true for at least the 20 years you've been in the assembly. At least 20, if not more. It was true when Cuomo was governor too. It's been true for a long time. But now you're a libertarian? Okay. Cut the taxes then. Let's do it.
Heaven forbid you'd like to help your children get a home, to live in the community.
Yeah.
And you not only don't have the resources, you can't give them your property.
Yeah.
And they can't afford it.
Yeah. Because there's no opportunity in New York State. Yes.
Today that looks at all those life situations.
See that? Guys.
And because of an amazing, amazing legislature.
See, it's because they're so awesome.
Amazing leadership.
Because they're so great.
Amazing governor.
God, we are lucky.
We are saying to people, we see you.
Yes, you do see us.
We hear you.
Yes, you do.
We understand you.
You are virtue signaling like there's no tomorrow. I agree. When it comes to virtue signaling, you are doing it very well. My question is, when we come back and I look at this video 2 years from now, will there be any positive change? And I would bet no. In fact, 4 years from now, when Hochul's running for another office or whatever she's doing, or maybe I'm running. Anyway, for another office, whatever the case may be, I think you'll be doing another law like this going, and this is the time where affordability is fixed it. And today we've solved all our problems. To imagine that this one set of 3 bills could solve these problems. They say it every time. Remember when he did a SAFE Act? That's it. Now we're safe. Red flag laws. Now we're safe. Buffalo happens. Oh, we just need literally after Buffalo happened, we needed 10 more gun laws. Let me say it again. 10 more gun laws. So after the Buffalo massacre, New York State, which already said more than once, this is it, the SAFE Act, red flag laws, all done. Buffalo hit 10 more gun laws because that fixed it. Now it's done. This one, now. We've had housing laws and bills for literally 70 or more years in New York State. But this time, now we solved it. Here it is. So look back. It's historic. It's over. The housing problem's over, Patty. Stop. She has come to save the day.
You don't have to come out of the shadows, and that's the other part of it.
See, now you don't want to come out of the
People
shadows.
don't want to come out of the shadows because they're embarrassed that they can't
Because it's
afford
hot.
their home and
That's
they
why.
can't make a
Stay in the
repair.
shadow. It's cool.
They're embarrassed that they have to be that
hot.
person at the checkout counter making sure that you can scan your code, at 73.
Everybody's
They're
getting
embarrassed
That
to
they're not.
talk about where they are.
That's not true at all.
So what we're doing today,
It's
and
solving
again, I
everything.
want to thank my colleagues, the ones that are named.
Did you see how she's speaking? It's only about the elected officials. Where's the local business owner who's going to have the job for the person and move them forward? That person's not there. Where's the community leaders? Whatever. They don't even name them. They're like just some whatever, local community, whatever. They don't care. All they care about is elected, because those people
Again,
matter.
like Senator Hinchy, who, she's up north, and, her committee is agriculture.
Listen to this.
And yet,
Yet
she understood the importance of dealing with seniors.
Did you hear that insult? Her eliteness, you can't. She goes, she's from North, right? Because you upstate people, clearly you're like, I don't know, semi-humans. I don't know if are you really human? Not civilized, right? That's literally just this. She just did up north, you upstate people, whatever, you people, and she's got like farmlands. Farmers obviously completely don't know anything, right? Obviously, people in the rural areas. That's what she's saying. And somehow she figured out, seniors. Imagine that. Someone from upstate New York understanding seniors. Who knew these Neanderthals understood anything? You think I'm joking, but listen to it again.
Named again.
Listen again.
Like Senator Hinchy, who, she's up north, and, her committee is agriculture. And yet she understood the importance of dealing with seniors, meeting them where they are. And all.
Do you understand what an insult that is? Right? This is the leader of the assembly who disses all of upstate New York. Just disses them all. You up north, whatever, semi-humans up there. This person knew about seniors. They could like count past 60. Who knew? Who knew?
Also, our chair of the aging committee, who couldn't be here, Senator Rachel May. I want to thank Senator Shelley Mayer, Senator Pete Harcum, Senator Elijah.
Why are you thanking them? All you did was write checks. Thank you for voting to write the checks.
Melnick, to join Senator Kavanaugh and me. I don't usually sponsor bills. I'm so busy shepherding them through that I don't usually have a bill in these packages.
Yeah, because you're incompetent.
Thank you for making it easy for all of us, and for me in particular, and also my assembly colleagues. Thank you so much, Steve and Tom.
Do you see how much it's just like, this is like the Academy. Well, all us actors are so important. We're so amazing. Oh my God. Derek goes on and says, rent to own is the best idea, and the morons will tend to take care of their own property. Well, yes, people tend to take care of their own property, morons or not. It doesn't matter. People tend to, but even if they don't, right? The rent to own is still optional, Derek. So even if there's someone who says, I don't want to own a home, you don't have to. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want the responsibility. You just want to live in an area, make some money, and go back someplace else. Okay. Maybe you don't even take advantage of rent to own. Maybe you go to a different place that doesn't do rent to own. Or maybe you just take your check and leave. You don't care. That's fine. But if you have a rent to own concept, then more people will take advantage of it, and more people will get an ownership mindset. That's the issue, right? That's critical. Jericho says expanding direct-to-consumer primary care and in-home visits to seniors would also be very helpful. 100%. Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, Jericho, yet again, on the money. 100%. Yes. So Andrew asks, I haven't been following you as close as I should have. That's okay. Still my buddy. How soon are we getting with the ballot? Yes. The ballot, we are still waiting for a decision. This has been now over 2 weeks. It's driving me crazy. But we're still waiting for a judge to make a decision. It is still, it is horrible. Anyway, but I'm still working on it. Yes. Let's see. Christopher says, low-income people like me who are or will be stuck living on Social Security as a main source of income need to be able to live somewhere affordable. Yes, 100%, right? So there's a couple ways you can do this. One of them is, again, if you have a GIB, you would still get Social Security, but you would also be able to get a stipend that would help you to get you through that. Now, Christopher, if you're someone who wants to start working, you can if you want to. If you're able to. I don't know your situation. You may be disabled, but assuming you're not disabled, and you'd like to start working, you can. You don't lose it because you start working. That's the advantage. So you'll begin to make more money when you add the guaranteed income boost. So that will happen for you. But the second thing is, if you've got a rent-to-own plan, say you decide to live in an area, I don't know how long you've been renting. For the sake of argument, you've been renting for 10 years, whatever that number is. If you've been renting for 10 years, when you leave that apartment or home, wherever you live, you got nothing. But if you had a rent-to-own plan, now for 10 years, you've got a bunch of equity. What did you just do? There's going to be a check for you. That might be a 6-figure check, might be a 5-figure check, it might be a 4-figure check, but it's a check. You got a check now. Now, if you decide, you know what? I don't want to buy. I still want to rent. I like renting. Good. You got a check to furnish your apartment with. Good for you. You can furnish your new apartment that you rent. All good for you. A new home, whatever you rent. You're going, no, I want to buy. Now you got some money for a down payment. Whatever. You can make a decision that makes sense for you, whatever that is. That's why the rent-to-own piece becomes better. Added with the GIB, it gives people more choices. Does it mean your life will be awesome? Christopher, I don't know. I can't guarantee that. Can I set up an environment to where you have more options, more choices, so that maybe you will have a better life? Yes, that I can do. I can set the environment to make it easier for you. But I don't know if you might be unlucky and still have bad things happen to you, and you may be disabled. Maybe you may struggle to work. I don't know your background. But in any case, I can make it to where the environment's better. That I can do. Right now, the environment is in New York State. Once you're in a tough spot, you tend to stay there in perpetuity. I want to stop that. That's what I want to stop that. Yes. So, all right. Let's say here. AU Adventure says, why do people still want a group of oligarchs controlling the lives via socialism? Has humanity learned this lesson through hundreds of millions of deaths and struggle in the 20th century? Yes and no, right? The yes part is they do know that socialism has been bad. But the no part is you will always hear them have excuses for why it didn't work. Constantly. You will always have them say, well, it's because of this or because of that. When you don't do this, you don't do that. Now we've learned. Now it's better. Now it's great. Well, capitalism has failed sometimes, and now we're better with capitalism. They will give you lots of answers. So I think that's why. But there's another piece. There is a warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that someone, something, some entity is controlling everything for you. It's a warm, fuzzy feeling. People like it. So it's daddy government. Yes, absolutely. So let's see if I can go down here. Grab a couple more. Okay. John says, since October 2000, the New York legislature has changed its law on eminent domain to give owners notice of loss of their rights and the need for bringing in rapid legal challenge if they want to keep their property. And a federal judge has ruled that the village of Portchester violated Brody's due process rights by failing to give notice. Well, this ruling unfortunately came too late to save Brody's building from the bulldozers. The village responded by issuing a full public apology. Anytime eminent domain happens, I'm unhappy. I'm not a fan of eminent domain at all. And New York State uses it far too much, period. Eminent domain should only be used in two cases. One, when not using it will cause obvious and direct harm to someone, right? If I don't use it, there will be obvious and direct harm, not I'm unhappy. But like, for example, New York City is an example. If you don't fix your building, it will collapse and people could easily die when the building collapses. Okay, you don't want to fix it? Eminent domain. I got it. Literally, people are going to die or be hurt or that kind of thing. I'm in, right? If someone is going to become a victim because of someone's either negligence or inability, either one, I have no problem using eminent domain in that case, because there's going to be a victim, there's going to be pain or suffering or death or anything like that. All good. And second, there's no other answer. Then I'm okay. If it's not that, why would I want eminent domain? Well, Larry, it'll be easier to, drive a highway through this or to build a dam or a bridge. So we did that in the 40s and 50s and 60s. What happened? We actually used eminent domain to make sure we trashed a bunch of black people's houses. That's what we used it for. We don't have a good track record of using it that way, right? We have a terrible track record. And Brody, as you know about, same thing. Another terrible track record of this. Eminent domain, no. Eminent domain only if there will be direct and obvious damage to someone or something. There will be a victim if we don't use it. If there will be an obvious victim if we don't use it, eminent domain. If not that, no. That's where I stand. Eminent domain. So what if it's easier or harder? Don't care. Don't care at all. Yes. So TBE Mike says the hypocrisy, the spew is crazy. Yes. New York is about affordability. Yes. Some of the highest rents in the country. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Yes. 100%. I love that. Daniel goes, it's the weather, Larry. Yeah, the weather. That's what it is. 100%. Yes. Dave says, or it's the Republicans' fault. Well, the funny thing is, right, I look at this idea of Republicans helping out. They're not, right? The problem is the Republican governor candidate doesn't have any plans. They're not going to fix anything. They never do. They have some kind of plan or idea, and then they go away. You never hear from it again. So, yeah. Sam says their nonstop pandering is hard to watch. It is. It's why I want to kind of joke about it as you see it. It is hard, but this is the norm. And they pander to each other. And why it happens if you're someone who watches this, right? You're a Democratic voter and you watch this, you're saying, my God, we're doing great. Kathy Hochul's great. That's what you're thinking, right? You can tell your friends, gotta vote for her. Who's the Republican guy? He's nobody. He's just gonna kill us all. That's what they say. She's about fighting back. She's literally strawmanning everything. There was no one to fight. She was punching the air. She was fighting the air people. There's nothing there to fight. New York State doesn't have any of the problems she talked about. The real problems New York State has, they have done nothing about. Nothing. So, yes. Not nothing. It's not true. They've done bad things. So, not nothing. So, worse, people honestly believe the system's improving things. Yep. The only vote that will change the 30-year downslide is a vote for Larry. I agree with you, Sam. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Let's see here. David says, newsflash, earlier today I dropped off my petitions, thereby becoming the Libertarian candidate for state senate in the Iowa State Senate District 6. David, congrats, my friend. Nicely done. Yes, don't you dare stop. Nicely done. Very good. Absolutely. I love that. So, let's see here. Bill says, wondering what the average property tax on those elderly people's houses. You know, this is a hard place. If you go to certain places downstate, particularly, I mean, you're talking taxes is going to be $15,000 a year. More. I'm not even joking, right? Certain places. You go in places in New York City. I mean, yeah, depends on where you live, but I mean, taxes are, wow, a lot. Absolutely. 100%. They're very high. In places that are 100% tiny, right? Completely tiny. Absolutely. So, all right. Hold on. Did Trump just get raided? Somebody just said that Trump got raided. Hold on. One of the FBI agents raided Trump. WTF. Yeah, you know, I'm not surprised at all. I think they've been talking this trash for a long time. My gut tells me, I'm gonna make a call right now. You guys will say if I'm wrong. My gut tells me that in 2024, neither Biden or Trump will be in the presidential ticket for Democrats, Republicans. I think neither Trump nor Biden will be on the ticket in 2024. I'm making this. That's my guess right now. We'll see how wrong I am coming up here, but that's my guess. I think that's going to happen. I'm not at all surprised if that for them rating Trump. Not surprised at all. They've been talking about it forever. They want to make him look bad. That's been a whole deal. I'm not sure it's going to help Democrats be forward with you. I'm not sure they will, but anyway, so we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do a show on it tomorrow. I'll see what happens. Maybe I'll do a show on it tomorrow. So we'll see. So, and guys, as I do want to always say, please, LarrySharp.com/donate so I can keep crossing this state. It is very tough for me to do. If you want to pick up a shirt, LarrySharp.com/shop or a sign or a car magnet, whatever you like. You want to join a Discord, Larry Sharp Discord, that bit.ly link right there. Support the show. It's parts free. World's smallest political quiz. Cut the link, put it someplace, and share that world's smallest political quiz. And the biggest thing I always ask you, like, comment, and share. Make sure you're clicking those like buttons, those comment buttons. It really does matter. It's important that that you do that critically. I want to, if I can, grab a little bit of one last person who speaks. If we can find that person who's going to be talking, we'll get rid of her. She's very hard to deal with. But there's a couple of people who show up. But then there's one last guy who shows up. One last guy. I skipped like 3 people. But let me see if I get this one last guy to show what he says when he shows up.
Thank you very much.
It's the last guy to talk.
You know, when you look at the adult lifespan, there's magic when you bring the youth and the elderly together.
I say it all the time.
And that's what you have done today, Governor, in signing these bills. You have merged the youth and the elders into a spirit of optimism.
Now, why does he care? Because he's getting checks.
Through your signature on those bills. I'm very, very privileged to have sponsored the bill that extends the date to 2028 of the extensions for first-time home buyers.
He's getting some.
And young working families very often have a very hard time getting started. But once started.
Yeah, but my whole point is that all they do is say how bad things are. So the goal can't be writing checks, right? The goal can't be writing checks. Make it to where it's not so damn expensive so they're not having a hard time.
They write the next chapter for their communities and for our state. And you've helped them. And for those who have already helped the pioneers of suburbia, as Tom has indicated, suburbia is an important part of our state, but all of the children of our family of New York
they're all
at the
leaving.
senior level need to know that they have a home here. We don't want them to take their pensions and go to Florida. We want.
He actually said the quiet part out loud. He said the quiet. That's what I wanted you to hear. He actually said it. They're all going to Florida. That's what I've been saying for the past hour. That's all I want you to do is hear him actually say it. It's not me making this up. They're all going to Florida. That's all I want to bring up. I know it's nuts, but yes, it is important, 100%. So yes. Then he says, would agree with Larry, been thinking the same in general for a couple of months. Plus there was that Gavin Newsom visit to the White House last month. Yeah, Danny, you may be right? It could be Newsom. That's possible. They've been trying to make Buttigieg the guy, as they've been throwing him out there too. Who knows what Democrats will be thinking? I don't know. I do not think it's going to be Biden and not going to be Harris either. The Biden-Harris, done. Right? Done. I said a couple years ago that I wouldn't be surprised if right after January or February, Biden steps down and Kamala steps in, because that would be 2 years. I wouldn't even be surprised if that would happen. That wouldn't even surprise me. But no, I don't think it'll be Harris or Biden. I don't think so. I think they might shove Harris in for 2 years to see if she can turn around. She can't turn around. People just don't like her. But, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm usually right in these things. I mean, usually. I'm not always right. But I'm usually right in these things. So, yes. I could see Newsom doing it. He's good-looking guy, got money from California. I could see it. Absolutely. Reverend Advocate says, even if the Dems stop Trump, the Republicans still have DeSantis, who they can't beat because they keep wrecking the U.S. economy. Here's what I would say about DeSantis. It depends on who he picks. Right? I depends on who he picks. If he picks someone who's very right-wing, like a Pence-type pick, a very conservative guy, he could lose. Because the ticket could seem too far right. He could lose. He's got to pick somebody who doesn't seem too far right, like a Tulsi Gabbard or someone like that, right? I mean, maybe not her, but whatever. Something like that. So the ticket seems more balanced, because people there are too many Democrats who will be like, that guy's too conservative. You want to get enough Democrats to cross over. You want some crossover with the VP pick. You do that, I think you're right. Not otherwise, there's a chance he could go what mainstream America would think of as too far right. Because without question, no matter who Republicans pick, Democrats will try their best to turn him into Trump. That's what they will do. That is their best thing. They will try to turn him into Trump no matter what. So, yes, I think that's it. So, all righty. Guys, I'm going to let you guys run. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for all the time you gave me. I will be on A Free Solution tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you then. Guys, have a great night.